husband found my old burner account. I had for fun. He doesn't even want to look at me anymore. Sean doesn't see me. Not anymore. Not since he found out about my secret. And even though it's been 3 months since then, I've never felt this lonely in my entire life. My husband, Sean, found my old burner account that I had for fun, and now he doesn't even want to look at me anymore, even though we still live together. It's almost like we're divorced. The silence is killing. He hasn't done or said anything to me since that day. He cannot even bear being in the same space as me, and the countless apologies I've given still won't get through to him. My name is Maya, and I'm 38 years old. I've been married to Sean for nearly 11 years now, and we have 2 kids, 2 girls. Before all of these started, Sean had been an amazing husband and a great father to our kids. He wasn't ignorant or nonchalant. We met through a colleague of mine who happened to be Sean's cousin. She introduced us, and it was really love at first sight. Sean and I started dating months after meeting, and we eventually got married 2 years later, and everything was really fine. People say that their husbands change after marriage, become someone else, and make the marriage unhappy, but that wasn't Sean. Until now, Sean had never changed. He was kind, patient, thoughtful, and so romantic. He didn't stop being the same man I had always known, but that seemed to have been the problem for me. Although Sean was great with everything, even after I quit my job to stay at home with the kids, especially because our second child was sickly as a baby, Sean supported my decision. He worked really hard to provide for us, and even though the hospital bills were outrageous, Sean never complained. I found out later, years later, about the extra jobs he took, so he could just support us, and when our baby finally recovered. Sean asked me if I wanted to go back to work, but I refused. I didn't miss anything about the work I did. Sitting behind a desk for hours didn't seem interesting anymore, and the honest truth would be it wasn't the exact thing I missed doing. I wasn't exactly truthful to Sean throughout our marriage, and no, it wasn't because I had a lover at first. Before I met Sean, I was an entirely different person, a past I had to keep hidden from my husband, just so I could start afresh, and I had kept it perfectly hidden, until recently, and it was all of him. He showed up and turned everything that I had carefully built upside down. Growing up as a kid, I had always wanted something, desperately wanted, and that was having rich parents. And it was an ideal thing to me at that time because I grew up in an orphanage where I had to share everything with the other kids. And I hated it a lot. I didn't like the other kids, and I wasn't satisfied with what I had. So when I finally could leave the orphanage, I left gladly. I never looked back. I thought I could finally get what I wanted. But it was difficult for me to survive out there. I could barely feed myself, and it was so bad. I was almost tempted to go back to the orphanage, but then I got mixed with the bad crowd, just to survive. I did all sorts of things. I stole, I sold drugs, and even delivered anything I was sent. But I wasn't comfortable living that life. I wanted to go to school, but the money I had from doing the things I did was barely enough. So eventually, a friend of mine introduced me to a club. She taught me how to dance and attract men. I didn't strip, though. I got a job as a waitress in the club, bought lots of sexy dresses to wear underneath my apron, which barely covered anything. And it worked for a while. I got lots of tips, and it was really nice. Although I never accepted offers to sleep with the men, I always lied about the company's rules. I said it prohibited me from doing so. And that was my life for 2 years, until I met Marcus. I liked Marcus the instant I met him. He was so handsome, and I loved how easily he made me blush. Marcus was the first guy I accepted to actually go back home with. We had sex on the same day we met, and somehow we just started living together. He didn't work. I did all the work and brought home money to feed us, but the money was never enough, even though I worked really hard. Took double shifts at the club whenever I could. Marcus spent most of our money on alcohol and other women, and I struggled like that for a year, until I met her again, my friend, the same one that brought me to the club where I worked. She left the club months after she introduced me there. She told me back then that she found something better, and even so she tried to take me with her. I was satisfied with the job I already got, but seeing her again looking all classy, with her expensive clothes and car, I regretted not joining her. She was more than willing to introduce me to what she did, She told me that she ran an OV account and that she made a lot of money from it. She showed me how it worked. It was then I opened a burner account for the first time. She taught me the basic things I should do, and within months I was earning huge amounts of money from it, although I kept my wealth from Marcus. I didn't want him spending my money like that, so I only gave him the money I did from before. I paid my way through an admission into college and then started to pay my way through passing classes too. I was that rich girl everyone wanted to associate with, and I loved my fame. It started first as a means to get money, but I found myself falling in love with how people wanted more. I was having fun and getting money alongside. It was just perfect. I became even more popular than my friend, and I liked it so much. I liked how easily I could live a double life. On the internet, I was a sexy girl that was paid so much to do anything, while physically I was a rich daddy's girl, as people in school believed me to be. Nobody knew the truth, except my friend, who did the same thing. We both attended college, and none of us was willing to share our secret. She hated Marcus, and kept telling me to break up with him, but I was just too in love with him, so I couldn't. But that was what implicated me the most, because Marcus found out. A year after I started my secret life, not because I told him, but because he went through my phone. That week we had a fight. I told him that I couldn't give him any money because I needed to buy something for school. He still thought that I was getting myself through college through my waitress job, but he was upset when I refused to give him money. I knew he had a new girl. He wanted to send her some money to buy the hair she wanted. I knew that because I had gone through his phone too, so I refused to give him the money. He had never bought anything for me, except the bracelet he got me from my own money, for my birthday, and I was upset about it. So in Marcus's desperate attempts to steal from me, he went through my phone, and he found out about everything, including my apartment that I bought, and the car I was planning to buy. I bought the apartment because that was where I stayed during the day, sometimes at night to attend to my clients. But Marcus found out about everything. He was so angry, and he broke up with me. Despite my pleas, he forced me to move out of his house, and he wouldn't even give me back my phone. I think he had been so angry because although he had access to my phone, he didn't have any to my account. I bought another phone easily, but I was too heartbroken. I really loved Marcus, and losing him made life hard for me. I couldn't even continue my work. I stopped doing it. I wasn't having fun anymore. I had more than enough money to put me through school and still live comfortably, so I decided to go back to Marcus, apologize, and even offer to give him half of the money. I was going to promise never to do it again. But I had another thing coming. When I knocked Marcus's door, he had changed the password. Even though it had only been 2 weeks, it was a lady half-dressed who opened the door. She asked me what I wanted, but I could barely speak. When Marcus came to the door, he kissed the girl right in front of me, and he told her that I was his ex. The one I told you about, the OnlyFans Club girl. That was what he called me, to my face. I was so humiliated and pained. I left his house feeling dirty and ashamed. I couldn't believe that Marcus had moved on so fast without me. But after that, I still couldn't go back to doing what I did. I wanted to live right for once. My old phone was with Marcus, and I hadn't bothered logging in my account on my new phone. My friend decided to travel to another country. She didn't even bother finishing college. She said there was nothing she wanted to do with a certificate, but I did. I finished college, and just to start afresh, I moved to a different city. I sold my apartment and the car I bought. I wanted no reminder of my past, and I made a huge donation at the orphanage anonymously. Knowing Mother Ann like I did, she would never have accepted money from me because of the way I left and because of what I did to get the money. I got a job where I moved to, not because I needed to at that time, but I wanted to pretend to be normal as much as I could, although from moving to getting an apartment, I was almost broke. It was a year after I started working that I met Sean, and I loved how he treated me, like a queen. I didn't want to lose his respect or love for me, so I hid everything about my past. I only told him I lived in an orphanage and worked my way through school, and when Sean asked if he could go with me to the orphanage, to know where I grew up, and perhaps meet my only family, I lied to him that the orphanage was closed down due to financial issues. I told him that everyone I knew there were probably on different parts of the earth and I couldn't reconnect anymore. And Sean believed me. I know that I built our relationship on lies, but I couldn't risk losing him. I believed that I had no choice when I did the things that I did back then, but it didn't have to determine what my future was. And after Marcus did the things he did when he found out, I wasn't willing to risk losing Sean that way too. But my truth came to stare at me right in the face years later. When I got a delivery from an unknown source, it was a small box, and I tore it open. After the delivery man left, I was home alone. Sean had gone to work, and the kids were spending the whole summer at their grandparents', Sean's parents' place. And when I saw the content of the package, I froze. For several seconds. My old phone, the same one that Marcus had refused to give back to me, when he found out about my secret. It was right there staring at me in the face, and there was a sticky note attached to the surface. "Miss me?" And a number was written below it. I was so frightened, and I immediately dialed the number. Once I recovered, and he picked on the second ring. He asked me if I liked my gift. Frightened, I became angry. I asked him what he thought he was doing. I told him that we ended things years ago, and that I was happily married with kids. I told him that what he sent meant nothing to me anymore, and I really meant it. I had the intention of burning the phone right after the call. I didn't want anything jeopardizing my life with my family, but Marcus's next words stopped me. "Does your husband know?" My silence immediately after that question confirmed his suspicion, and Marcus blackmailed me into meeting with him. He ended the call, and he sent me an address to meet him. I was so afraid. I didn't want to go, but I had to. So the next day was a weekend. I knew that Sean would be home. It was usually our time together. I lied to him that an old friend was in town, and she was only around for that day. Sean trusted me completely, and he even asked me to take his car, but I refused. I didn't want Marcus believing that I still had money. So I took a cab to the place. It was his house. He had moved to the city where I was, and apparently he had seen me the day I went shopping with Sean and the kids about a month ago, and he only just managed to trace my address. Marcus wanted me to have sex with him. In his words, he said he missed me and wanted a taste of my alter ego. He was referring to my identity on my old phone. He told me that he watched all of the videos I made, and he had since missed me. I felt like I had no choice but to comply. I needed to safeguard my family, so I accepted his request. I slept with Marcus that day, believing everything was over after that once. But Marcus, he requested a huge amount of money from me. He told me that he had some of the videos with him, even though the phone was with me now. I tried to reason with him. I pleaded with him that I didn't have such an amount of money, but he was adamant, so I had to wipe out all the money in my account, just to give it to him. But instead of Marcus keeping quiet and disappearing like he promised, he continued to show up and ask for more, both money and sex. I couldn't ask Sean for money. I didn't work or have a business. There was no reason I would need the ridiculous amount of money. Sean paid for everything around the house, and the kids too. But Marcus didn't consider that. He was selfish and greedy. So I had to lie to Sean that I wanted to start a business, and I needed money, and Sean gave me the money. I told Marcus that I couldn't get him any more money, and after that money, he finally accepted that I really didn't live my old life anymore, and he agreed to leave me alone. I was supposed to be happy that he finally agreed, right? I should have tried to get back to my normal life, right? Especially considering the fact that Sean didn't find out. Even after I lied to him that I lost the money to a swindler. He didn't yell at me or blame me. He was just genuinely upset. On my behalf, I was supposed to be grateful, or perhaps finally tell my husband about my past. But that wasn't what happened. Instead of getting back into my daily lifestyle, with my husband and my kids, I started to feel bored. Sean suddenly started to feel insufficient. His never-changing ways, which I used to love, started to feel annoying. I was suddenly not happy with my life anymore. Seeing Marcus and sleeping with him for almost a month again just started to remind me of how much I used to control and how wildly insatiable I had been with Marcus. Sex with Sean started to mean little to me too, because he didn't change anything. It started to look more like a routine to me, not satisfying. And guess what? I blamed Sean for it. I blamed him for not being rich enough to support us, without having to work so hard. I blamed him for my own unsatisfaction. I know what you guys must think, but it was the only way I could live with myself, after everything I had done. Blame it on someone else. And which was why it made it easier for me to find Marcus again, and have sex with him. This time, I wasn't being blackmailed. He didn't ask me for more money. I went willingly to him, and Marcus didn't turn me away. So almost every day, after Sean had gone to work, and the kids have left for school, I went to my lover. This time I didn't even mind that he had other women. I wasn't in love with him anymore. I just wanted to have fun with him. And I did. I did for several months, without getting caught. I became a perfect liar. I pretended well. I even got so bold and started to invite Marcus over to the house. On days I didn't feel like going over to his place. We didn't have nosy neighbors, and Marcus always came dressed in work clothes. He told me that he could use that as an excuse if Sean ever came home while he was there. But Sean never did. Still, sleeping with Marcus, it didn't remove the feeling I had, that feeling of emptiness and unhappiness. I couldn't seem to get rid of it, until the day I found the phone again. I was rearranging my wardrobe, throwing away the things I didn't need anymore, and I saw the phone I had hidden carefully. At that point, I had totally forgotten about the phone. I was so focused on keeping my relationship with Marcus hidden that I had forgotten was what started the affair. Instead of burning it like I planned to, I turned it on instead. It was low, so I charged it. Marcus had kept it alive for all those years, probably waiting to blackmail me with it, but I didn't even care about his intentions anymore. When the phone was fully charged, I unplugged it and turned it on again. Then I went through the phone. My old contacts were still there, including my old friend. And then I tried logging in back into my burner account. I still remembered the password. It had been Marcus's birthday and mine combined. When I logged in, I saw how many clients had repeatedly asked for me until they gave up. I felt happy and wanted. I even watched my old videos, and I felt what I hadn't in years. I liked how sexy I looked, and I was almost tempted to continue doing the videos. But with 2 kids, my body had changed from that sexy goddess that I was, and I was jealous of my old self. I wanted to be her again. I started even watching the videos with Marcus. It made our sex life even more exciting, because of how turned on I got from seeing myself from years ago. I thought I was finally having fun again, and it was all that mattered to me. And it continued like that for months, until that day when I bumped into my old friend. I was shopping for groceries, and then someone walked up to me, the same person that introduced me to my old lifestyle. I was shocked and happy to see her. She was in a rush that day, so we arranged to meet another day. And when we did, she was almost like an entirely different person, not only physically but mentally too. She told me that she was married with 3 kids, and that it was her husband who helped her a lot. Apparently he knew everything about her past, and he had still been willing to marry her, given that she stopped. She told me she deactivated the account she used and also gave away all the money she had, so she could have a fresh start. She told me that she also tried contacting me after that, but my numbers never went through. She seemed genuinely happy, and somehow I felt guilty and jealous of her. Her husband knew, and he still accepted her and loves her. I thought the feeling would fade after a while, but it didn't. I even purposely gave her the wrong number, just so I didn't keep tabs on her. But I started to feel even worse. The guilt just came up from nowhere, even though sex with Marcus was satisfying. It still didn't get rid of the feeling. And a week after meeting with her, I still felt that way. And it kept growing until I couldn't bear it anymore. So I made up my mind to end things with Marcus. And I went over to his place. But I ended up in Marcus's bed again, without saying the things I wanted to. I knew that ending things with Marcus physically won't do it. So after I got home, I sent him a text, telling him the things I couldn't say in person. Marcus didn't argue or try to convince me otherwise. He only sent me a picture. It was my underwear that I forgot in his place. He was asking if he should keep it for me or burn it, and I told him to burn it. But I was upset. I couldn't believe that he still didn't care about me, despite everything. So I sent him another text cursing him for coming back into my life and ruining everything. I told him I never wanted to see him again, and that I was going to delete the burner account and also burn the phone. I also said in the text that he should make sure that he deleted every video he had saved elsewhere. And I know that I should have deleted the text messages. I shouldn't have left them on my phone, but I was too upset to be careful. So after sending the message, and didn't receive any messages in reply, I just cooked Sean and the kids dinner. It was midnight when Marcus replied, but sadly, I was fast asleep and it was Sean who read the reply. And the other messages too, but I didn't know, because the next morning there was no such text on my phone. I just simply thought that Marcus was ignoring me. I should have suspected when Sean told me he took a day off at work, and he wanted us to drive down to his parents' place. But I just thought everything was completely normal, even though he left an hour after we got there. He told me it was a work emergency, and they needed him to come around. He promised to come pick us in the evening or the next morning. I still thought everything was perfectly normal. I planned to get rid of my old phone when I got back home, but when Sean came to pick us up, he wasn't his usual cheery self. He was quiet, and even when I tried to speak to him, he ignored me. He responded well to the kids, just not to me. And when we finally got home, he still wouldn't talk to me. That night, Sean slept in the guest room. For the first time since we got married. Even when I tried to talk him out of it, he still ignored me. The next day, he drove the kids to school, and I thought he was leaving for work too, so I tried to use that opportunity to get rid of the phone, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I started to panic when I looked through the whole room and still couldn't find it. But then Sean walked into the house while I was searching, holding something. It was the phone. Looking for this? I tried to behave like it wasn't something important, something that could destroy my life. And I asked where he found it. Sean just looked at me. He didn't look angry or upset. He had something different in his eyes, and I couldn't tell what it was. I saw the text between you and your lover. I was shocked when he said that. It was then everything he did in the last days made sense. The whole sudden trip down to his parents' house and leaving us there. He wanted to use that opportunity to search for the phone that I had in my anger mentioned in the text that I didn't delete. Sean told me that he saw my lover's reply to my text, and when he read through, I will never forget what he said that day. I found out something about my wife that I never knew, all of these years of being married to you, through a text. I tried to defend myself. I tried really hard to explain to him, but Sean just looked at me in disgust, and the words just stuck to my throat. The look he gave me that day has since tormented me. And since that day, Sean barely stays at home. He only came around to drive the kids to school, and he never talks to me. I've tried everything I can in the last months to apologize to him, but Sean, he just ignores me. All my texts and phone calls, none of them answered. Even the kids know something is up, and I don't know how and what to tell them exactly. I'm going insane thinking of his next actions. A divorce? A custody lawsuit? I have no idea what to do, and I'm so scared. I really don't want to lose him or our kids. Update. Hello. It's been 2 months since my last post here. I thought that life was hard with Sean just ignoring me. But what happened afterwards? It was just totally awful. I thought that Sean just needed space from me. That maybe, just maybe, he would eventually come around. I managed to delude myself into thinking that he would one day look past everything that I had done. But I was so wrong. Sean wasn't taking his time forgiving me. He was taking his time to plan his revenge, the most ruthless one. Sean didn't only expose me to his family, he did to the whole world. Imagine waking up one morning to being tagged by different people who don't even know you. They were insulting and calling me different colorful names. Sean had finally reacted. He made a public post online, and it contained every secret that I thought I had kept safely. My burner account and videos from it, and even the screenshot of the last chat between Marcus and I. And then he tagged it, a cheating wife and a former of exposed. I don't know how he did it, but he also got Marcus's pictures and put them together, so Marcus was also being dragged with me. He called me the next day very upset, and he blamed me for everything. He threatened to do something bad to me if he ever saw me, but he was the least of my concerns. I had always known that Marcus was a coward. He never did half the things he threatened to do, except hit a woman. I called Sean that day after seeing the post, and this time he picked his call. He asked me if I liked my gift, and he told me that another one was coming to the house for me, in an envelope. He also told me that he sold the house already, and that the new owners will be there in a week. So I only had that week to move out. He also told me that he wanted a peaceful divorce, and that I should forfeit every right to the kids alongside the divorce papers. You wouldn't want the kids forever taunted by your mistake. It would be better for them to live without you and your dirt, he said before he ended the call. I cried that day. That was the first time I cried ever since he found out. I couldn't believe that Sean had done all the things he did to me, without even feeling remorse. I knew that seeing all of those things must have made him hate me, but I didn't think it would be this much. I didn't realize that I created a monster in Sean. I feel so awful. Sean's parents, who had always adored me, they wanted nothing to do with me. When I went to them in my desperate attempt to get Sean to forgive me, or take down the post, they literally walked me out of their house. Sean's father said nothing to me. His looks were already saying more than enough. People from my past, who I didn't speak to anymore. They came online and started to say horrible things about me. They were talking about my time at the club. My schoolmates too spoke about how lavishly I spent money, and how I lied that it was from my rich parents. They totally murdered me online. I called my old friend for help, but she just ignored me. She didn't want to be dragged down with me, and painful as it was, I totally understand her. But I also understand that I'm utterly alone in this world, with no one on my side. There's no place in the world that I can hide, not even here, that I came to with my story, thinking that maybe someone, or anyone, would understand me, would perhaps even feel pity for me. But I have never been so wrong. You all think of me the exact way that the world does, and it's so painful. Even though it's been a month, people still talk about me. Time hasn't healed any wounds. It is still as fresh as it was right from the very first day. The day that Sean found out about me, anytime the internet seems to be forgetting. Someone who somehow sees me in the new place I'm hiding, takes a picture, and then posts it, and then they would remember and curse me all over again. It's been a vicious cycle ever since. And my world is just upside down. I'm barely surviving. No one wants to employ me. They didn't want me bringing down their business. The only places willing to do that were clubs. They wanted me to continue my fame as a whore, because people would come in to see a famous and shameless cheating wife. Well, ex-wife. I had no choice but to sign the divorce papers, and my right to see the kids ever again. Sean made it perfectly clear that I have lost everything, and the piece of paper was just formality. It's just still so shocking how everything just came crashing down. I think that I would have preferred if he had yelled at me, got angry, even hit me, but he just silently ruined my life, without the use of words. He made sure that no one ever thought of me as a saint ever again. Now I think of the several opportunities I had to tell Sean about it. I could have told him in the beginning, while we were still dating, or maybe when we just got married, or after our first child, maybe the second. I had years to tell him everything. I should have been like my friend. I should have been honest. But I thought burying everything was the right thing to do. I thought that I could escape the truth. But now I'm stuck reliving it over and over again. I now carry all of these painful memories with me, hard to forget. Not when everything around me reminds me of them. The only physical memories I had of Sean and our kids are the pictures. When Sean took the kids, he carried everything alongside, except the pictures, the ones that I featured in, which is nearly everything. And those are the only things I have of them now. I don't even know where they are. Sean's company apparently gave him a promotion, which enabled him to travel somewhere else, somewhere that no one is willing to let me know, somewhere far away from me and my new fame. Now I'm left to wonder every day. What he could have told the kids. Did he tell them the truth? But then again, if he didn't, they would find out soon enough when they're grown, and they will hate me, just as much as their father does now. And thinking about it just makes me feel so horrible. I really wish I had thought things through before getting involved with Marcus again. I really wish that I hadn't thought that the best idea was hiding things from Sean. I'm left wondering if things would have been different if I had told him. Maybe Sean would have been as accepting of me. Maybe I would never have gotten involved with Marcus when he blackmailed me. But I was just totally and utterly selfish, and it is what has gotten me in this mess in the first place. I don't know anything anymore, but one thing I know for sure is, even if the world forgets, which they will eventually, I can never forget. I will always be stuck in the endless cycle of painful memories. I will never forget my betrayal, or how Sean had taken it, and I'm not likely to forget. That my kids will forever despise their lying and cheating mom. I miss them so much. I realize now that it was a privilege being in their lives, and I could never have taken it for granted. I should have cherished them, loved them, and never threw away everything we shared. But now here I am, learning and never getting it, to live without them, a future with basically no one. I know that Sean will probably move on with someone new, someone who will become a wife to him and a mother to our kids, someone who will have all the access like I once had. The thought is scary and painful, and knowing that it would eventually happen if it hasn't already is just awful. This is possibly my last post here. There's nothing here for me. I thought writing here would give me some sense of relief, but I got absolutely nothing, except extra insults and name-calling. Thanks and goodbye.